Lauren Gatch is a professor of political science here at UCO. We asked him last Friday about the current conflict in Ukraine. He described the situation in terms of a standoff.
We are in a standoff over whether Ukraine is going to continue to be more of a European country in a European sphere of influence, a member of European institutions, and perhaps also the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Whether Ukraine will be in that camp, or whether Ukraine will be more of a client state of Russia and be associated more with Russian interest.
Does Russia have a point? Gatch explained the situation from both the Russian and European perspectives.
Russia sees Ukraine as a country that is within what it perceives to be its legitimate sphere of influence, and they want to protect that and want to keep the Ukrainians from in a sense going to the other side. I think there's a sense that maybe there is something to the Russian demands. The Europeans, in contrast, see the Russian invasion of Ukraine as a clear violation of international law, as a very dangerous escalation of tensions within the region.
Gatch also explained the concerns of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, the organization tasked with possibly coming to the aid of Ukraine.
NATO is interested in preventing any kind of Russian designs upon Ukraine as being a preliminary to putting further pressure upon members of the European of the NATO alliance that are in Eastern Europe and then the Baltics. That's the real line that the NATO alliance has to defend.
With so much at stake, what is the best possible outcome in the current standoff?
Well, the best case is that both sides have the freedom to stand down without being humiliated, and that's the problem I think that is sort of increased the temperature in this conflict. Is that for both the Russians and for NATO, there are extreme costs to being seen as the side that blinks.
With that in mind, we also asked Gatch what he thought would be the best outcome for Ukraine.
The best scenario is if there's some kind of a mutual understanding that will lead to the treatment of Ukraine as a kind of neutral buffer state with a certain amount of independence and a certain ability to determine what's going on within their own borders, but at the same time not allow Ukraine to either join NATO on the one hand or be reincorporated as some kind of Russian client state on the other.
And finally, we asked how concerned should we here at UCO be about the recent decision by the Defense Department to place 8,500 troops on a heightened state of readiness.
We will deploy some troops into the Baltic countries, I believe, as a way of reinforcing NATO and demonstrating America's commitment to it. But those are something like 8,000 troops, and that is really that's symbolic, really. It's not a substantive commitment of troops. There is no particular risk to any person who lives in Oklahoma. There's no deployment that we're not seeing off any of our young men and women into combat.
From UCO campus in Edmond, MAURY, BLAIR, UCentral News.